Had a few agriculture questions. Tell
Sure.
me about farming in Mississippi. I mean, are there enough young farmers out there? Are they replenishing the older farmers? And
You know, getting young farmers involved in agriculture is a challenge. It really is. Just because to farm today, there's such great capital cost involved. And if someone doesn't own a significant amount of property today to come in and buy land and buy equipment, you just can't justify going into farming from that standpoint for a single person. So mostly what we're seeing is people who are already raised on farms, who own some land, whose families own some lands. Maybe they haven't all been in production, they're going back and putting it in production. I think the good news is this. Last year we had a tremendously successful year in agriculture. Prices were up, crops were good. People are going this year with a lot of optimism. And when you look today, the thing we have to remember, Steve, is we're dealing in international markets today. It's not just, am I going to sell my corn and wheat and what's it going to bring here? You know, it's the world demand. We're seeing world demand for protein and food products continue to skyrocket. And we're in a very enviable position right here in Mississippi. You know, not only do we have some of the best soils anywhere in the world, but we've got a good transportation system. We've got good highways, good rail system to help move this. We've got the Mississippi River on the west, the Ten Tom on the east. We've got the deep water ports to the south. So Mississippi is in a good position to do that. And we're seeing more diversity in crops too. And farmers are taking advantage of these high prices. We're seeing record high prices on cotton. Cotton acreage in Mississippi this year is probably going to be up 23, 25%. Corn acreage is going to be up. Soybeans pretty much steady. But farmers have a lot of versatility to it. And with our climate, we're able to grow more than maybe just one particular crop and have one or two dominant crops. So I see a real bright future. And I think young people have realized that, you know, it's hard work in agriculture. It's a lot of risk in it. But with the growing demand to feed the world, I think we all got to realize we've got to have the farmers and do what we need to encourage them. People don't think about this too often, but the land on the surface of the earth that you can actually produce crops on, productive agricultural land, only amounts to about 3% of the total surface of the earth. You take out the mountains, you take out the places covered with ice, the oceans, the national parks, highways, cities, and so forth like that. Only 3% of this earth to produce the food that the billions of people have to get. And with the technology we have, you know, 15, 20 years ago we said, you know, one farmer would grow enough to feed maybe 40 or 50 people. Today we say in America a farmer can feed about 140 or 150 people. New technology that's come in. What they've been able to do is take certain characteristics of genes out of certain plants for a certain type of resistance to disease or insects, or increased protein, increased sugar, and increased yield. And America has been a leader there. And another thing that a lot of people don't really realize is a lot of these companies that have been the pioneers in this actually have offices and experiment stations where they conduct this research right here in the state of Mississippi. There have been a lot of breakthroughs that came because of offices and research done in the state of Mississippi. So I think young people today are beginning to say, hey, I see the need. You know, a nation has got to have fuel and be self-sustaining on fuel. It's got to have its own food supply. It's got to have a strong military base. And we see, once we become dependent on foreign countries for fuel, what can happen. We can't let that situation happen with food. Agritourism is a really growing industry in the state of Mississippi. And in several places we've had people that have taken their farms and pretty much opened it up as an agritourism center. And before I was elected Commissioner of Agriculture, we did that on our farm. I live at Richland, which is just south of Jackson, and we did blueberries and sweet corn and did some watermelon, cantaloupe in early summer and springtime when those crops, we planted them, and we'd have people come out. Blueberries would start getting ready probably late May, early June, and we'd have sweet corn getting ready, and then we'd do hay rides for the kids and have school groups. And then in the fall, we would do pumpkins. We'd grow pumpkins and have them come out. And it's an excellent tool for, you know, most people in Mississippi are probably 3 generations away from their farm background, okay? So not only the kids love it, But mom and dad a lot of times have not really been on a farm.